Welcome. This is Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes. I'm Lawrence Pugliese, and this is the annual holiday program. I have some great guests as usual. We have Ralph Zipoli, Director of Elf Management for Santa Claus, as well as the Marco Marcinko Christmas Jazz Trio, featuring Marco Marcinko, Paul Rostock, and Tommy Hamilton. Before we get started, I'm going to share a poem by Jack Kerouac for you. Yep. Christ had a dove on his shoulder. My brother Gerard had 2 doves and 2 lambs pulling his milky chariot. Immersed in fragrant old spittoon water, he was baptized by iron priest Saint Jacques de Fournier in Lowell, Massachusetts. In the gray rain year 1919, when Chaplin had spats and Dempsey drank no whiskey by the track. My mother saw him in heaven, riding away, prophesizing, everything will be all right, which I have learned now by trial and conviction in the court of awful Glatz. That is a poem called 19th Course by Jack Kerouac from Mexico City Blues. And now you're going to hear another great piece of art from the American experience. This is from Vince Guaraldi. It's called Christmas Time is Here. Marco Marcinko Christmas Jazz Trio, and that was Tommy Hamilton on flute, Paul Rostock on bass, and Marco Marcinko on electric piano. Thank you, guys. They'll be here to talk with us about whatever goes on in the jazz, hipster sort of experience. And now we have the elf management sort of hipster experience to tap into with Ralph Ziepoli back, I think, for the 5th consecutive year.
Is it 5, Larry?
5, 4, something like that. Nice to have you back.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
You look younger every year. I don't understand how you do it.
It's the North Pole.
Yeah?
It has that effect on many people.
Excellent.
Our elves live to be 150 to 170. Least I can do is hit 100, right?
Yeah, that shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah.
So you're not elf. You have no elf in you. You're
No,
100% human.
No. We're working on that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I envy some of their advancements. So maybe I can do something about that eventually.
Well, keep us posted.
Thank you.
I know there's some issues you wanted to talk about today. We had a phone conversation recently.
Interesting year.
Yeah.
Interesting year.
How are things at the North Pole?
Good, Larry. As you know, we're busy as usual. We're totally dependent on elves, of course, and whether it be toy making or sleigh repairs or deer grooming or Santa's massages, it's just all
Santa's massages. That's a little disturbing.
No, it's quite all right. It
Yeah?
really is. Yes, the elves have accepted it for 300 years. It's nothing, nothing strange about that. But anyway, we depend on the elves totally. They are our labor force, and they assist Santa on Christmas Eve. Would not be accomplished without the elves' help. I don't know if people realize the scope of going on Christmas Eve and hitting, 3 billion homes.
Oh, 3 billion?
Yeah.
Half the world's population?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah. Wow.
It's pretty extreme. People don't realize we've got a few different sleighs also. Santa can't possibly,
Oh, really?
Yeah, we do have a few different sleighs.
Who's on the other two?
Elves, very
Elves?
experienced elves, yes.
The upper echelon.
Yes,
Of
yes. People don't know that.
Well, how are these elves treated when they're not working? I mean, in the past, you've talked about things that concern me, to be quite honest with you, Mr. Ziepoli.
I know.
Labor practices up at the North Pole seem a little bit antiquated.
Oh, yeah, they are. Elves, well, let's just say that the last few years we have discovered found a new respect for the older elf. We are nurturing him, okay, so to speak. In fact, we've developed an elf retirement and rehab center.
Oh, really?
Yes, where an older elf can go, or an injured elf can go and repair himself. An elf has a tough life, as you know. First of all, living in the North Pole is no picnic.
Right.
Okay. The extreme temperatures, the cold. All right. Dealing with reindeer, and food is a constant, source of worry. So you've just got to constantly. It's a hard life. It really is. Santa can't take care of everyone many times. When you're talking, probably, 8,000 to 9,000 elves alive at one time. Okay, so it's tough. It's tough, but we are making improvements. And there's older elves, there's younger elves. On Santa's ride at midnight ride on Christmas Eve, which is the most magical ride of all, and it's your younger elf that will accompany him, and there could be 300-400 elves on that sleigh. It's quite a big sleigh. And like I said, there's other sleighs. And your younger elf is the one that can run up and down a chimney and carry computers and carry toys and also, have a little fun in people's homes also. So they do that.
What do you mean?
They party in the sleigh. They ransack a few homes. They don't mean to. They just get a little drunk because, well, an elf lives on cookies and rock and rye.
Right.
They get a little drunk. I mean, putting 20 hours in a sleigh ride, it's quite a long evening, so you need something to keep you going. And they do. They go into people's homes. They hit the liquor cabinets, the cookie jars. They have a little fun now and then, But once you start slowing down in terms of years and becoming an older elf, you will be positioned in a toy factory. But now what we're doing is in the rehab center, the retirement and rehab center, we are creating a toy factory environment in the rehab centers. So our injured elves and our older elves can still be part of the working force of the North Pole and feel useful.
And you said they live to be how old, usually?
Your average elf could live to be 150 to 170 years of age.
And when they pass, same sort of rituals as humans?
Well, not really.
No?
No, not really. When an elf passes, an elf is basically made of cartilage.
Yes, I've heard that from you in the past.
Right, yes. We found out that the best thing to do is, well, please don't think this is a little sadistic, but when an elf passes, we have a huge room, a very cool room that we just hang them in. We put this hook in their neck and we let them hang, much like, did you ever hang like an Italian pepper?
A superstar? Oh,
right, like a pepper, right?
Yeah.
In a cool environment. It dries out and it's, and it dries out after a few months, and you can crumple it up and put it on things. And basically, not that we do anything like that. They dry out, right?
Because you brought cookies in before, and
No. We dry them out, and what we do is we crumple them up and we sprinkle them throughout the woods of the North Pole, and we let all the animals, the chipmunks, the squirrels, the rabbits, and we let them feed on them, and it's sort of like a nice process of putting the environment first.
Wow.
Yes.
You guys are getting progressive up there.
We are.
But there's
have
an old
to.
ritual, though. By the way, what are you drinking?
Hot cocoa.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah,
Are you
hot
sure?
cocoa. Santa insists on hot cocoa during this time of the year.
So the elves sprinkled in the woods, they live to be 150, 170. You have a rehab center, old folk sort of center.
Well, not just old folks, many injured elves.
Injured as well.
Well, injured, as you know, there's many an elf, there's many injuries.
Give us examples of a common injury.
Oh my God, you'll see many an elf with extremities like fingers or toes missing, frostbite.
Right, it makes sense.
It totally makes sense. It's they drink a lot. They rock and ride and whatever, and they a lot of times they get feeling a little good, and they, for some reason or other, an elf loves to take off his clothes and run, and he likes to immerse himself in water and run through the snow, and
They like to streak?
yeah, basically yes, they like to streak, and a lot of them like to iceberg surf. They like doing that, iceberg surf. They like riding the reindeer bareback, although the reindeer don't go for that too much. And they fall asleep in snowbanks, and we do have quite a number of cases of frostbite, and that's a problem. But these are uncommon problems. They happen throughout the world. So
Oh yeah, people
we
are
deal with
constantly
them.
riding
Right.
reindeer.
And then they have
bareback.
this ritual called run with the deer.
Run with the deer.
Run with the deer.
Explain that.
They of course they have all their clothes off and they get wet and they're all frozen and they just run with the deer. They spend time running with them. And a lot of times the deer don't like that and they kind of stomp on them and hit them. And
They end up at the rehab center.
they end up at the rehab center. Different ailments from deer, whether it be a biting or a stomping. Many times the elves, their ears are very long and pointy at the top. Many times they don't pull their hats down over their ears. Their ears get red, real red. Well, to a deer that looks like a carrot. So the deers many times will bite off the top of their ears.
Without any malicious intent. It's just a
No, they
misunderstanding.
just think it's a carrot, and they just, a deer will, eat a carrot. And other times, when someone is given the job of grooming a deer, you groom a deer. It's a good-sized deer, and you groom it with a wire brush.
And how big is an elf on average?
Oh, an elf is basically like maybe 3 foot 4 or 5. Okay. Now sometimes they grow a little bigger if we inject them with steroids, just for certain jobs. Okay. But
Much Mitchell.
yeah,
Much Mitchell doesn't get a hold of that.
no, right,
information.
yeah, right. But an elf that grooms deers sometimes runs into a little problem, especially if he's underneath the deer and he gets a little out of hand with that wire brush. He's not paying attention and he hits a sensitive area. He'll get a swift kick from a hoof, and it'll hurt an elf. Break a foot, break a leg.
So
yeah.
the deer are a big problem for the elf. The cold and drinking.
They get along, but elves, they just, they're mischievous.
Is there just? I mean, you're saying he a lot. Is there just one? Are elves of one sex?
Well, elves are hermaphrodites. That's
I did not know that.
yes, they are. Well, you know how elves come about, and we'll get into that. But elves are hermaphrodites.
I heard some
and,
guffaws in the studio. Everybody's shocked.
Well, they are, and it's
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
No.
not at all.
But people didn't know that.
Right, they are, and they almost choose to be male during their working hours. During a work week, an elf chooses to be a male. During the weekends, they go female, and they party a lot. They get free drinks. Okay. Yes,
I get you.
You're right. They know exactly what to do. Right. It's really interesting for the clothes shops in the North Pole because they do quite well. An elf will go in there one day and he's looking for Carhartts and Dickie work clothes, and a week later he's looking for maybe capri pants and a nice set of pumps. So it's interesting. It's very interesting.
It sounds like it's very progressive at the North Pole.
It is. Oh yes.
Honest to God.
We've learned we have to change the times.
Now, you have some drawings. I don't know if it's time for those yet. But we were talking about elves, and Elfina, isn't she the queen of all elves?
Elfina is our queen. Just as I mentioned before, the elves are very similar to the ant.
Right, cartilage.
The cartilage, the queen buried in the ground, or whatever. And we have our queen Elfina. She's been around for hundreds of years. She produces eggs. The elves come out of the eggs. And that's how we get our workforce. Yeah. And
do you have any drawings?
oh yeah, sure.
Can I see?
Sure I do, yes.
I know last year you showed one of Elfina.
Right.
This one, getting back to the elves, this is a picture of the elves at the retirement and rehab. We had a little party for them.
Ah.
Okay, and
Maybe Mark can zoom in on that. I don't know.
It is. It was a nice time. It really was. And I mean, like I say, there's many different ailments at the retirement and rehab center, and we try and address them, which we haven't in the past.
What happened to these particular elves? They look pretty beat up.
No, these are ready to go back into the workforce.
Oh,
now.
they
yes,
are?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
they're rehabbed.
Yeah. You haven't seen that, yeah. As you can see, a lot of their teeth, because of the cookies and rock and rye, we've tried different dentures. They just refuse to. They swallow them. They just totally swallow them.
They swallow their dentures?
Yeah, they just put some rock and rye on them and they eat them like everything else. But it just doesn't work with them.
You gotta watch your audio there, I'm hearing.
Sure.
From our audio elves.
But yeah, but you're right. That's our elves, and we're now a healthy elf. And I think I've shown you a healthy elf. And a healthy elf, when they're healthy, the ones that help Santa, I'll bring that out again. And that's a healthy elf.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, he's
that
healthy.
looks like somebody.
Right. Well, I don't know, but yeah, that's a healthy, happy elf who assists Santa. He's strong. He assists Santa. And now Elfina, the queen of the elves, last year, I mean, Elfina is she's quite a woman. She's quite a girl, and she is our queen.
But she's not a woman.
Well, no, she's not. She's sort of a mixture. Okay, she's sort of a mixture, and it goes way back hundreds of years that I can't. I'm only with them. The last 30 years or so. So I don't have too much knowledge on that. But we caught this year. Elfina. We caught her. We captured her, more so to speak, and she was, and she does drop some eggs. Okay,
Right.
And we look forward to her dropping probably 200 to 300 eggs a year. Well, her production is totally down this year. And the reason for her production being down is in a sense, global warming.
Global warming.
I know I know it's hard to believe, but
Did Al Gore put you up to this?
excuse me?
Did Al Gore
no,
put you up
not
to
at all, not at all. You know, please don't be like everyone else. It's happening. It's factual, and it's no joke. We at the North Pole, we're very concerned about it. I mean, Alfina feeds primarily on seal and salmon, and because of the warming polar cap, the seals are seeking cooler waters, and it's affecting her nutritional needs. It just is. And the poor thing is, she's doing her best. You can see she's doing her best, but it's
Her production is down.
Her production is down, and
Is that
God bless her.
Is that a salmon in her hand?
Yeah, she'll grab a salmon. In fact, she's resorted to even catching now and then a dog or a cat. Yeah, it's
getting that bad.
It's not a pretty sight. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about. I've heard things, from around here, the rumor mill in northeastern Pennsylvania, wondering about Carmela Claus. Can you tell us anything about Carmela Claus? Because she has a connection to this area.
Well, Carmela Claus, Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus.
But as everyone seems to refer to her as Carmela Claus, although that upsets Santa very much. Throughout history, the past 400 years, it's always been Mrs. Claus.
And there's been many different Mrs. Clauses.
Many.
Because
Maybe
they're human.
There could be 80 or 90 Mrs. Clauses.
They're human. He's not.
Right.
And when one passes on, he
Exactly.
he meets another.
Right. He had the misfortune of meeting this Carmela Claus. She's a widow from Carbondale. Okay, last year, and he thought she was going to be a fine mate for him, and a Mrs. Claus should assist Santa, should assist him. She should assist him in the cooking, the cleaning, the taking care of elves, things like that. Maybe attending an occasional dinner or two. But this woman, maybe butchering a deer now and then. But anyway, this woman would not do anything like that.
Nothing. What did she do?
Nothing. Well,
I mean, what is there to do up the North Pole?
Well, she was, and we warned him of this. She had a prior past that did not seem to fit in well with Santa's lifestyle. She was a biker woman, and he found that very exciting.
Well, that is exciting.
Very, very exciting.
That is exciting.
Okay,
but it
was
doesn't.
exciting.
But it doesn't fit.
No, right. He. Well, I have a photo of
You have a photo of Carmela Claus.
Well, an illustration.
Illustration.
Yeah, we don't allow photos at the North Pole. They're not Christmassy like. We like illustrations.
Okay.
Yes.
I won't argue with you.
Yes. Now.
Let's see what we have.
Okay. Carmela Claus, as she liked being called, of course, was she was a rough woman, who mistreated the elves somewhat.
I could see.
Right. She enacted a leash law that Santa was never too proud of. She always had an elf at her side, her favorite, on a leash, and she made she made the elves do everything, and it got out of hand. It really did. It's
give more insight as to how Carmela Claus got out of hand.
Well, number one, like I said, a Mrs. Claus should support Santa. He's got, let's face it, a Mrs. Claus should do his cooking, his cleaning, his ironing, his washing.
Whoa,
and
a lot of women out there
stuff
now
like
are going to
that. Right.
say that
Well, no,
Santa's a male
but he
chauvinist.
needs it. I mean, do you realize who Santa Claus is?
Oh, he's a powerful
right.
man.
And this allows Santa Claus, now when I say that word, Santa Claus, I mean, that's right up there with the greatest people on earth, right? That allows him to get fat, conserve his energy for that one glorious night.
Right.
Right?
So
So he
he's-
works one night a week. I mean,
What does he do
okay.
the rest of the year then? He's a slacker, basically.
More or
Yelling
less,
at
you got to
Carmela?
feed him and make sure the elves are in line. Spends a lot of time with playing golf and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people come up to the North Pole when they want to get away. And man, could I have my cocoa back?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
all right. That's okay. Thank you.
I really question if that is
yeah,
cocoa.
my tummy was.
So, Carmela, problem. What did Santa do?
What did Santa do?
Yeah.
Well, at the North Pole, when you have a problem with the Mrs. Claus, and many of them last 20 years, many of them last 2 years, they disappear. And they don't disappear like you're thinking about they disappear. She ends up back in Carbondale. That's all. She ends up back in Carbondale, and she doesn't remember a thing.
But how she, really?
She doesn't remember a thing. She's back at her sink washing dishes in Carbondale. It's not really a problem.
How do they,
I mean, this is,
how do they manage that? I mean,
well, they have a small, they put a small device in her neck. It looks like a sheetrock screw, about a 1-inch sheetrock screw. In fact, it is a 1-inch sheetrock screw. And they screw it in the base of her neck, and it knocks out all your memory. And they get the Slay Body Shop, to put a little lump of Bondo on it, and they stick a couple deer hairs on it. It looks like a mole at home. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. She
interesting.
yeah, she totally got out of hand, the way she treated elves, the way she had them polishing her Harley constantly. Santa, as you know, lives for food. I mean, you see the man, right?
Yeah.
He lives for
He
food.
likes to eat.
And oh my God, she would, first of all, she had the elves making now and then a quick meal, which was horrendous, because the elves did nothing but all an elf can do is make cookies and bake a cake. They tried different things. They tried putting sauce on cookies and stuff. Santa was, it was disgusting, okay? But what she did was, she did a lot of takeouts. She took a lot of takeouts from Santa. They did a lot of takeouts.
Like Chinese, things of that nature?
Well, not exactly Chinese. You won't find too many Chinese places up there. What you find up there is different. There's probably just one main fast food place up there. It's called the Greasy Igloo, and
The Greasy Igloo.
the Greasy Igloo, and it's a nice place. And Santa has been existing on, probably for the past 8 or 9 months, on Kodiak club burgers and penguin poppers, yeah, and sea lion patties, okay, and they're all deep fried. They're all fast foods, and they're all very bad, very bad.
So Santa was not living well in terms of his
Right, his cholesterol's up,
yeah.
his blood pressure's up. This woman is not
supporting him in other ways either?
No.
Like psychologically, emotionally?
right. His clothes are all torn. His everything's a mess.
Wow.
His life is turned upside down.
So she's
with
back.
this
She's
woman.
not with him now. Carmela's back. at home.
Carmela's back. Carmela's back. He's alone.
Is he
right?
looking for? Is he looking for a Claus? How is
Yes.
he going to get through Christmas without a Mrs. Claus?
Well, the elves are filling in. Not that way, okay? The elves are filling in.
I wasn't going there.
Yeah, right. The elves are filling in terms of the sewing and the cooking.
That's great. That's great. Oh boy, where do we go from here? So we're gonna talk more, I believe, about Mrs. Claus and some of the new prospects out there. I know there are some local people who are lobbying to get a Mrs. Claus from this
Yeah,
area again
yeah.
because they feel bad that the one that came from northeastern Pennsylvania didn't work out. And there are a couple of other things you want to talk about too, I believe, right? Ralph Ziepeli, by the way, from the North Pole, director of elf management for Santa Claus. I'm Lawrence Pugliese, and I'm confused right now, very much. A little surprised at some of the things I'm hearing. Progressive, it seems they are at the North Pole in one breath, and the next breath very, very backward.
Right.
I guess you guys are going through some growing pains, but we'll let you reserve your own judgment for that. We're going to go back to some really fantastic musicians and artists who came last year and are back this year to help entertain you on Stories, Wisdom, and Recipes holiday program. The Marco Marcinko Christmas Jazz Trio I'm talking about, and they're going to perform Linus and Lucy for you right now. Again, another Vince Guaraldi composition. Marco Marcinko Christmas Jazz Trio featuring Marco Marcinko on electric piano, Tommy Hamilton on saxophone, and Paul Rostock on bass. My name's Lawrence Pugliese. It's nice to have you here for the holiday show. We have Chris and Mike and Mark in the back doing all the hard work, and we're sitting up here drinking our hot cocoa. These guys are going to take part in the conversation now. We want to hear what they have to offer, what they want from Santa Claus, what they think about some of the things Mr. Zipoli have put out on the table. And we also have a letter from somebody to Santa Claus. I'm not sure who. We also have a little insight about a few local politicians who are trying to lobby Santa to get his next Mrs. Claus from northeastern Pennsylvania. Even though the young woman, or the middle-aged woman from Carbondale didn't work out. Let's go to these guys and see if they have anything to offer. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
Tommy, Paul, Marco.
thank you, Larry. Very nice to see Mr. Zipoulet again. Very nice.
Thank you.
He made that
Same
French.
here. Same here.
Zipoli.
Zipoulet.
There you go.
Zipoulet. Where do you originally hail from, Mr. Zipoulet?
Detroit.
Detroit. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Beautiful city.
Yeah.
The Motor City, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of
Motown.
our great industry. Santa probably has a very nice time visiting that city on the Christmas night.
He does. He
Oh.
does. I know a lot of the nice spots to bring him.
Oh, wonderful.
After hours.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. I take care of him.
Wonderful.
I do.
Well, I have to say, the discussion before was overwhelming.
It's fascinating. Learning something new. And I was in Michigan just last weekend, coincidentally.
With Frank Sinatra Jr.
Yeah, playing a casino there and flying back, and I'm wondering, are we even going to do this taping? Because the writer's strike.
Of
But
course.
you guys pulled it together.
Yeah, my 10-year-old daughter wrote the whole thing.
Wow. And
Yeah,
she's non-union.
she's
not-
non-union.
And we still
Yeah.
support, but, this
Well,
is...
she's 10, so people don't
And
get
it's
on it.
Christmas,
Yeah.
and we're doing our own thing here, but...
Well, one thing that I thought was amazing, and we commented on, of course, when you were talking earlier in the show, Tommy made a comment about it, that whole idea of the elf hanging from the hook and then, coming from the earth and then returning to the earth. I mean, that was...
It's so natural.
Tommy had some feelings on that he wanted to express, I think.
Yeah, well, we were saying how that was kind of progressive, but I think it really that's probably the way they did it from the beginning, right? I think like
Exactly.
whatever 300 years ago.
Good point,
Exactly.
Tommy.
So they're
Because there
not
are
only
no elf
progressive,
graveyards.
It's that's the way things have always been done. That's why things are still cool up there.
It's
Very sort of Native American, sort of indigenous peoples
Yeah.
method.
Well, when you think about it, the Eastern philosophy is, we come from the earth, and that's where, we rest in the earth, and we're going to return there
Right.
anyway. So this really puts a new twist, a new light on it for me, and spreading that out for the squirrels and for the animals of the forest to enjoy. I mean, it's rich.
North Pole's going green.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like our society.
yeah.
It's going green
Exactly.
Gore
literally
must have-
as well.
You're right. Gore must have. He must have been up there.
I think he's playing golf. I think he's one of those guys playing golf with Sam. Was he up there?
Yeah, he has been.
Said some bad
I
things
don't-
about
yeah.
Nader. I think I heard when he
Yeah.
said.
right.
Maybe he'll play
Yeah.
Santa Claus this
He
year.
lost in the election.
Yeah, he's big enough these
Al
days.
Gore would be a great Santa Claus, I think.
He should grow a beard again.
Yeah.
I think he would.
What about the Paul brings up a good point about going green. Are you seeing any shifts in the polar ice caps or anything
Oh
like
yeah,
up there at the
definitely.
North Pole?
It's affecting our
Maybe the audience would like to hear about that
Well,
in
Alfina.
northeastern Pennsylvania.
Alfina is being affected by it.
Elfina. I mean, our seal population. I mentioned
Yeah.
our seal population. They're seeking cooler waters.
Wow.
Seal and the salmon. Once that water temperature drops 2 or 3 degrees,
Yeah.
this species definitely looks for another area.
The thing is, if you're already at the North Pole, where do they go to seek cooler waters? They go to like South Pole maybe or something?
Yeah, right.
You got to go.
That's a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that presents
yeah.
a problem,
Right.
obviously.
Honesdale
They-
or Minnesota.
Honesdale or Minnesota.
yeah.
Those are
Right.
cold, both
Right,
cold
right.
spots.
Yeah.
Well, should Santa be getting into politics, though, do you think? Should Santa really
Waymart.
be getting into that area?
Me personally, I feel no. I mean, he
No.
should stay as apolitical as possible. I mean, he is Santa Claus. And some of the things that I was hearing were absolutely fascinating earlier in the show with the progressiveness of the elves and the technology and things of that nature. and how many on a
Gender
sled and
switching. I mean,
gender
that was
switching. Yeah,
intriguing.
it was
pretty
amazing.
cool.
I didn't know any of this.
We're just making
But
it
then-
more public now.
Well, I understand that, and full disclosure on everything. I think that people would like to know that. But I was also fascinated with the old school mentality of the cooking and the cleaning,
Carmela, the way he
washing
treated-
the
yeah,
dishes, and
me as well.
But it makes sense.
It
It
does.
makes sense because Santa has one job, and that he's very focused on that, and
Yes.
he needs a lot of caretaking and
That's it.
coddling. So that would make
He does.
make a lot of sense. I have another question.
Go.
Historically, I don't know if you know this, but for many years, over the course of time, there's always been one particular elf that I know of that's always represented each kind of generation or each new thing that happens in society. And I'm wondering if that jazz elf, Thelonious, Leon Thelonious, is still there at
LT?
at the North Pole.
Right.
Because when the jazz age came, us being jazz musicians, of course, we know this from our history lessons, but when the jazz age came on board, that elf was a significant part. Is he still there?
Leon is still with us. Leon is probably pushing 100 and, oh boy, he's probably pushing 180 years of age.
Wow.
Yes, and he plays, his main function is to play at the Retirement and Rehab Center.
Get out. So he's
And
doing,
he's
now we do some of that
entertained-
ourselves. We go to retirement places and
He
we
entertains.
perform as well. So that
Right.
happens at the North Pole as well.
Right.
Where there's
Maybe-
some
Really.
entertainment.
Have you ever
We've got
jammed
to.
with Leon, you guys?
No.
Would you like,
No.
maybe we can work something out. You guys can play up at the
I was
rehab
just
center.
wondering, is Leon a solo actor? Does he have
What is he?
a band?
He tries to incorporate a few people, but most elves, as you know, are usually drunk, and they just they
Well,
have
that's
a hard
well,
time.
that's very
Right.
similar to what we're dealing with.
It's a very similar situation
Right.
here. I mean,
Right.
if people think hot cocoa
he's
or
right.
these glasses, I mean, they got something else going on.
And he tries to bring in a lot of people, but he's so good. You know, as I do, that he's so far above the rest
Yeah.
that it's hard to bring in people to accompany him.
Excuse
But
my
he
ignorance.
has.
Excuse my ignorance. What is his instrument? What does he play?
Well, he.
Wasn't he in the harpsichord for
Well,
quite
yeah,
a while?
but I wanted to say something that he could play a multitude of
Oh,
instruments.
can he?
Yeah.
But his
Yeah.
main, I mean, Thelonious makes me think piano.
Well, of course, because of Thelonious Monk. But, he's a master of many.
Marimba, played a lot of marimba.
Many, yeah.
Marimba.
Christmas
Yeah.
marimba.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
an
Christmas
amazing
marimba. Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
The harp.
Yeah, the harp. The Mississippi harp, the Mississippi saxophone.
Played the harp with a bow though, which is very
That's
very hard to
very-
do
yeah.
because there's so many strings to hit one instead of hitting them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be hard, Paul.
Isn't it very rare for a Ralph to, an elf to have that kind of ability?
Well,
It is, isn't it? I mean,
elves
that
are-
is, he's
they're
a rarity.
freak of nature.
Right.
I mean,
He's
all
a
that
rarity.
cartilage. Give me a break.
This okay? Let me ask. I got a
wiry.
little signal there from Mark that we have about 10 minutes. I want to ask you guys a couple of questions outside of the realm of
Okay.
elves,
Elfdom.
elfdom. What are you guys hoping to get for Christmas? Anything on your list you'd like to share?
Well, as you know, I shared this story about how I got my flute when I was a little kid.
Yeah, that was great last year.
Yeah, and I'm hoping one of these years, see, this is a silver one. I'm hoping one of these years an elf's going to come by with a gold or a platinum one.
Flute.
Yeah, and maybe what I'll try to do is barter with him. Maybe I'll trade this one back, and if he doesn't, I may have to wrestle him again.
That was amazing.
They're pretty wiry. Tell ya.
And that cartilage has a lot of give.
Oh yeah.
It's tough.
You had to really,
we'll see.
when you were younger, you had to hold him down and get that flute from him.
Yeah,
He did not want to give it up. Amazing.
I still got it.
And now he's one of the best. I'm glad you wrestled him. And Paul? anything?
Well, if you recall, last year I was playing the string bass, a different instrument. I don't know if the audience remembers that. Probably not. But there's quite a difference in size between the two. And it was actually not by choice that I'm playing this. Sort of unfortunate that our business can sometimes be, feast or famine. So, in the grand tradition of some of the great jazz musicians, I hocked the bass.
I was going to ask you.
Got
huh?
this, and with the car, I had a station wagon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, FM radio, XM, and all that stuff. So I'm on a Vespa now.
You're in a Vespa, but
Yeah.
you're touring with Junior and everything.
Well, it's expensive. The roads. Have you tried to buy a hot dog at an airport?
No, probably
No.
$8, $9.
Oh, it's
And the
ridiculous.
cost of gas, of course.
Cost of gas. So I've got the Vespa and I
changes everything.
strapped this on. So I'm hoping as things progress and pick up, I can
Vespa in this weather.
by next year get back on the doghouse and But other than that, everything's good. I'm not complaining because, you know.
I'll tell you what. I'll say that I'm interested in that Harley. If that Harley's still being polished by the elves up there, I'd be very interested.
Did you
in
send
getting
that back?
for
We sent it back. We don't. We can't do that.
Oh, really?
Right. We
So
wouldn't do that.
any of that property, even though Mrs. Claus
No,
gets sent back to
it's not a
Carbondale?
50-50 deal.
Oh, I see.
Santa's got so much more. I
So the
mean,
laws are different up there.
you're right. We just send her
Well,
back.
he's beneficent.
Packing,
Yeah.
and that's it. And hopefully, I mean, we're hopefully the next bride, so to speak, whatever. We're looking in Dunmore, to be honest.
That's what I was going to ask.
Wow.
There are
We
three
are,
guys. Go ahead,
right.
tell the names. Put the names out there. There are three.
Well-
Let's let them know. People should know. These guys
Full
are
disclosure.
lobbying hard.
Well, no, we Santa is got some good friends in Dunmore. One is Mayor Lotney, and he's working hard on a widow. We're looking at a lot of the bingos there at the Dunmore Center.
So a certain age category.
Oh
of
yes,
course.
it's got to be a certain age
Okay,
category.
okay.
And this Mrs. Claus, hopefully, she'll be the traditional model. She will be able to, cook and mend and clean and play a good bingo game and be that Mrs. Claus, not Carmela. You know,
Right.
That's what he wants.
So they have to lose their identity to live with this man.
Exactly. Yes, and most of them cherish it. They cherish it.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I like Santa. Don't get me wrong, and I hope I'm still on the nice list. Is it all right for me to say things against the grain? Do I get kicked off the nice list?
I can't. I can't control what is being said.
Freedom of
you say
speech,
what
Larry.
Freedom of
you can
speech.
say it,
Freedom.
yeah.
You could say this is a country that allows you to have your opinions and your thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, but,
And
Santa,
I
but
mean,
as
the
I've
North
said in
Pole
the
is
past-
outside of the purvey of this country.
Well,
But
I
as
mean,
I-
if you want your
I'm
gifts,
afraid.
though, you might want to keep your mouth shut.
Exactly.
That's the
Marco,
thing.
Exactly.
Naughty and nice list. I have
3
one
years
here.
in a row now. He's probably awoke with
I got a shower cap last
a
year.
shower cap, or your usual Fruit of the Loom briefs. So I mean, if that's what you're happy with, okay.
Naughty and nice list.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple people here, and if you guys know of anybody that should be added to either, let me know. Naughty list, Michael Vick. All right. I mean, I don't have to explain that. This surprised me, and this is a facsimile that I found in my office. I don't know who put it there, from the North Pole. Nice list, Dick Cheney.
Really?
Interesting choice.
Dick Cheney, yeah, and there's in parentheses because he didn't shoot anyone this year.
Of course.
Yeah. Wasn't that nice of him?
Yeah.
We also have the Steinbrenners on the naughty list. The Steinbrenners on the naughty list. Joe Torre on the nice list. Britney Spears on the naughty list, with a couple of exclamation points and a smiley face. I don't know what that means. And Alec Baldwin also on the naughty list.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, on the naughty list.
He's doing so well on 30 Rock, though.
I think it was that message he left with his daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
Santa didn't overlook that. Okay.
No. Benazir Bhutto.
Just returned to Pakistan. I
Right.
heard.
She's on the nice list.
She's on the nice
Yeah.
list. Great.
And so is Oprah, of course, and Sister Adrian.
Of course.
Bill Clinton.
Where would he be?
He made the nice list.
He's on the nice list because,
Wow.
well,
He's helping his wife out.
it doesn't really explain. I don't know why Bill Clinton's on the nice list. To be
Well,
honest
it's
with you.
weird because just the other day he said his wife didn't have a snowball's chance in hell to win Iowa, and they thought it was going to go to Obama, and then he had to renege on all of that. So there's some finagling going
Edwards
on.
is going to pull it off, I think.
All right.
But anybody else that should be on this list, do you think? The naughty list? The nice list?
Those guys from Luzerne County with the debit cards.
Oh yeah,
Naughty
they should be
list.
on the naughty list.
naughty
Oh, yeah,
list.
naughty
Yeah.
list.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds? He's on the naughty list for sure. Yeah.
Oh, Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt. He mentioned before the performance-enhancing steroids
Yeah.
that the elves use. Now, is that permissible? Is there going to be any sort of congressional hearings or anything
Again,
on that?
the North Pole is not
North
part of the
Pole?
United States.
Well, I
like the
understand that.
Vatican.
I-
Autonomy.
Exactly.
It's
Like the Vatican.
It's like the Vatican.
I understand that, but
Right.
I was just wondering. I mean, is that legal or illegal? Because we were having such problems here in this country with it.
Oh, my
We
God.
can use those measures at the North Pole.
I mean, that steroids really probably beefing up
Well,
supply.
they're controlled. They're controlled.
And control
They're
purposes.
controlled purposes.
Human
at the
growth
North Pole.
hormone?
And now and then we do need a superior elf to do certain tasks
A powerful elf
a powerful elf.
with a strong grip.
Right. People don't
fixer.
realize we have a couple bodyguard elves that guard Santa too.
I didn't know that.
Yes. yes.
I'm sorry. We're gonna. You guys,
It's
we have one more thing that we have to put in here now.
Oh,
By the
I'm
way,
sorry.
you're hearing the insight, intelligence, and spontaneous comedic stylings of the Marco Marcinko Christmas Jazz Trio. Very good stuff, guys.
Thank you.
And they're going to be playing some music as well. They're also brilliant musicians. How about that? We have a letter from Santa, though, first. Mr. Zipoli?
We get many letters from to Santa, and there's some of them that touch Santa's heart. And this is one that really, and we're gonna go out of our way to try and help this. But dear Santa, I've been a good boy all year. I helped my pa milking the cows, feeding the chickens. I even plowed the North 40 for him. Last week, a big wind came and blew away our farm and all our animals. But I still love you, Santa. Please bring back my dog, Roscoe, to me. And Jeremiah Jones, age 9, Wichita, Kansas. And Santa sees something like this, and he will definitely go out of his way to try and it could be an impossible task, but he will definitely, if he doesn't, he'll find some dog that looks like him, because he knows when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're asleep, and he knows what dogs get blown away. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. That's so heartwarming.
It is touching.
It's very
Tender.
touching. Thank you, Ralph Zipoli, once again.
You're welcome.
Good luck with all the work up at the North Pole. And ask Santa
Thank
to
you.
try to be a little bit more open about the way he treats and shares his life with his Mrs. Claus, okay?
I sure
That's
will.
the one thing I would
will.
ask you to do.
I will. Thank you.
I have a little bit of something to share with you from a guy named Dante Alighieri. Happy holidays, whether it be Christmas or, well, Hanukkah I think is over, right? Is Hanukkah over? But still, whatever culture, religion, whatever it is, if it's just your loved ones that you get a chance to spend some extra time with because you have days off, whatever it is, please cherish it, have a wonderful time. And this is coming from myself, all of our guests here today, the entire staff of Channel 61. Have a wonderful holiday. I'm going to share a little bit of Dante Alighieri with you, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with the swims. Then Beatrice said, smiling, famous life by whom the generosity of our basilica has been described, do let matters of hope re-echo at this height. You can, for every time that Jesus favored you 3 above the rest, you were the figure of hope. Lift up your head and be assured, whatever comes here from the mortal world has to be ripened in our radiance. The second fire offered me this comfort, at which my eyes were lifted to the mountains whose weight of light before had kept me bent. Because our emperor, out of his grace, has willed that you, before your death, may face his nobles in the inmost of his halls, so that, when you have seen this court in truth, hope, which below spurs love of the true good, in you and others may be comforted. To tell what hope is, tell how it has blossomed within your mind and from what source it came to you. Happy holidays. The Marco Marcinko Christmas Jazz Trio.